On Halloween night in 2002, the festivities turned to heartbreak when Chris Jenkins, a 21-year-old University of Minnesota student, disappeared. He was last seen leaving a Minneapolis bar, a night of fun cut abruptly short. Months passed and winter set in, revealing a dark discovery. Chris's body was found in the Mississippi River in February 2003, still dressed in his Halloween costume. Police called it an accidental drowning, but those close to Chris couldn't accept that explanation. They knew him as purposeful and deliberate, not someone to take a fatal, careless misstep. His family and friends were left with haunting questions instead of closure, as they struggled to understand how a night of celebration could end so tragically. What secrets lay shrouded beneath the still surface of the river? What had happened to Chris Jenkins? The story, much like the waters that claimed him, runs deep. And somewhere in those depths lies the truth, urging us to look closer, to question further, to seek more. Due to the persistence of his family and a re-examination of the evidence, the case was reclassified as a homicide in 2006. They highlighted various aspects that they felt law enforcement had initially overlooked or dismissed. For example, the position in which Jenkins was found in the river, his arms crossed and his hands folded in his lap, was unusual for an accidental drowning victim. Despite the change in the classification of his death, no one has been charged in connection with Chris Jenkins' death, and the full circumstances surrounding his passing remain a mystery. Over the years, his case has sometimes been mentioned in connection with other young men who have gone missing and were later found dead in water, leading to various theories, but nothing conclusive has been established regarding a connection between these cases. In the years since, Chris Jenkins' story remains a haunting narrative of uncertainty and loss. It's a tale that echoes through Minneapolis, a reminder of a night when a young life's potential was eclipsed by an unsolved mystery. As we delve into his story, we confront not just the cold facts, but the heart-wrenching human story behind them, and the lingering questions that still hover like winter mist over the Mississippi. Let's get into it. The life of Chris Jenkins. Chris Jenkins was not just a name on a university roster. He was a vibrant force within his community. His popularity spanned far beyond the confines of campus life, his charisma acting like a gravitational pull, drawing people from all walks of life into his orbit. Those who knew Chris spoke of a young man with a zest for life and an infectious energy that made him a natural focal point in any gathering. In the academic realm, Chris was more than a diligent student. He was a beacon of dedication. His commitment to his studies was not just evident in his grades, but also in the way he interacted with his peers and professors. He earned respect not only for his intellect, but also for his approach to learning, always curious, always striving for a deeper understanding. His presence in the classroom was as impactful as his presence on the field. On the lacrosse field, Chris transcended the role of a mere player. As a captain, he was a figure of inspiration and leadership. He wore the captain's badge not just on his jersey, but carried it in his demeanor, confident, determined, and always supportive of his teammates. Chris had an innate ability to rally his team, to lead by example, and to face challenges head-on. His sporting prowess was matched only by his spirit of camaraderie and sportsmanship. But the essence of Chris Jenkins lay in the intangibles, the qualities that didn't necessarily earn trophies or academic accolades. He was the heart of a laugh, the architect of joy in the lives of those he touched. His humor was a kind of magic, turning ordinary moments into lasting memories. Friends recalled how Chris could light up a room with his wit, how his laughter was contagious, and how he had a unique talent for finding joy in the simplest of things. Chris's impact was felt not just in the big moments, but in the everyday interactions. He had a way of making people feel seen and heard, of valuing their stories and experiences. His empathy and understanding were as much a part of his character as his humor and intellect. To know Chris was to experience a multitude of facets: the scholar, the athlete, the joker, the friend. Each role he played added a layer to the rich tapestry that was his life. The night of the incident. As Halloween night descended upon Minneapolis, Chris, with youthful enthusiasm and a dash of creativity, dressed in costume, while he embarked on a night of celebration that was meant to be filled with laughter and joy. Alongside his girlfriend and another couple, Chris headed to the Lone Tree Bar and Grill, a well-known establishment in the heart of Minneapolis. The promise of laughter and camaraderie hung in the air as they entered, blissfully unaware of the sinister turn their night would soon take. As the clock struck midnight, a series of events would unfold, quickly turning this night into a haunting mystery. Chris Jenkins, inexplicably, was asked to leave the bar. In the haste of his exit, he left behind his phone, wallet, and jacket. The watchful eyes of the bouncer, the last to see him, traced Chris's steps as he turned onto Hennepin Avenue. But after that left turn, he would vanish into the dark abyss of the night, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. The other, similar cases. 6 days later, the world of the upper Midwest was shaken once more, this time in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It was November 6, 2002, a night that should have been filled with joy and celebration for 22-year-old Michael Knoll. He was celebrating his birthday at a local bar when he mysteriously vanished. Michael, like Chris Jenkins, had been a university student with aspirations and dreams that extended far beyond the bar stool he occupied on that fateful night. Just 3 days later, on November 9, 2002, another young man named Josh Gimond joined the ranks of the disappeared. Only 20 years old, he had been at a small party in Collegeville, Minnesota, yet within the span of hours, he had inexplicably vanished into the cold November night. The pattern was undeniable and chilling. 3 young men, all vanished within a 100-mile radius of Minneapolis. They shared eerie similarities. All were white, all around the same age, height, and weight, and each disappearance occurred during the dark hours of the night, following visits to bars or parties. They were united not only by their commonalities, but also by the disturbing fact that all 3 were last seen near bodies of water. The collective imagination of the upper Midwest, once filled with youthful exuberance and dreams, was now haunted by a sinister theory. A silent predator seemed to stalk the dark corners of the region, claiming young men who should have been celebrating life, not succumbing to its darkest uncertainties. The discovery. The fear was soon given a grim face. On February 27, 2003, the mystery of Chris Jenkins met a tragic conclusion as his lifeless body was discovered in the Mississippi River. Found lodged between logs in the cold waters, his existence had come to a sorrowful end. And just 1 month later, on March 25, 2003, the fate of Michael Knoll would be revealed when his body emerged from the depths of a nearby lake. The FBI and local investigators probed these discoveries, searching for connections, but they remained unable to establish a concrete link between these 2 tragic deaths and the unresolved disappearance of Josh Gimond. Yet, their shared tragedies suggested an unnerving pattern. An autopsy report suggested that Chris Jenkins had drowned, his blood alcohol levels far exceeding the legal limit. However, the manner of death remained inconclusive, listed as unknown. Despite the circumstances surrounding his death, the police concluded that it had been either an accident or that he had taken his own life. Their theory proposed that, intoxicated and distressed after a dispute with his girlfriend, Chris had either fallen or leaped from the nearby Hennepin Avenue Bridge into the Mississippi River. In 2004, they closed the case. As the authorities closed the case, Chris Jenkins's grieving family refused to let the veil of mystery shroud their son's demise. The truth, they believed, lay deeper than what the official verdict indicated, and they hired a private investigator. The investigation. The investigator embarked on a relentless quest, and his findings unearthed unsettling discrepancies. Chris had not exhibited the injuries that one would typically expect from a fall off a bridge. More baffling, it was suggested that his body might not have been in the river during the entirety of his mysterious absence. The investigation, it seemed, had not been conducted as diligently as the circumstances warranted. What the investigators' diligent work disclosed about Chris Jenkins's case only fortified his family's steadfast belief that something more sinister had transpired that Halloween night in 2002. The grieving parents were unyielding in their conviction that their son was not a victim of circumstance, but rather of foul play. It was not only Chris Jenkins's parents who were unwilling to accept the official narrative of his fate. Retired detectives Kevin Gannon and Anthony Duarte became entangled in a web of unsolved mysteries. Young men, seemingly healthy and full of life, were vanishing in clusters along the Interstate 94 corridor in the Midwest. Chris's case was just one piece of the broader puzzle. As seasoned detectives, Gannon and Duarte knew that some details did not align with the official conclusions drawn by law enforcement. The position of Chris Jenkins's lifeless body, the physical evidence surrounding his disappearance, these factors seemed to suggest that the waters concealing the truth ran deeper than accidental drownings or suicides. The two retired detectives delved into Chris Jenkins's death. The chilling possibility of a serial killer haunting the Midwest became the focus of their investigation. A pattern had emerged, and it was a pattern impossible to ignore. What horrors awaited discovery as they delved deeper into these perplexing cases, and who could unravel the mysteries that now gripped the region in terror? The confession. 2005 marked a pivotal turning point in the quest for the truth surrounding Chris Jenkins's death. A man behind bars, incarcerated on unrelated charges, approached the authorities with an astonishing revelation. He confessed that he and another individual had accosted Chris on the Hennepin Avenue Bridge that fateful Halloween night. According to this startling confession, the motive was simple: robbery. Chris had unwittingly become an easy target due to his inebriated state. In a horrific turn of events, driven by frustration when they realized Chris had nothing of value on him, his assailant had resorted to the unthinkable. They had flung him over the bridge's railing into the chilling embrace of the Mississippi River. As this shocking twist surfaced, the case took on new dimensions. The once closed investigation was now officially reclassified as a homicide. Chris Jenkins's family, however, remained steadfast in their conviction that their son was not hurled over the bridge in a random mugging. His pristine attire, including slip-on shoes and a neatly tucked-in shirt, remained inexplicable if one were to accept the mugging hypothesis. Their belief in a more sinister sequence of events persisted. In 2007, the Minneapolis Police Department identified a suspect in the case. Hope was rekindled as the suspect's name was presented to the county attorney, with the anticipation that charges might be filed at last. But their optimism was short-lived, as the county attorney declared that the evidence at hand was insufficient to proceed with formal charges. Despite the setback, the individual remained under the shadow of suspicion. The question of what truly transpired that eerie Halloween night still hung heavily in the air. Yet, as the mystery surrounding Chris Jenkins' fate persisted, the walls of silence remained impenetrable. Jeremy Lynn Alford, known to have been present at the same bar as Chris on the night of his disappearance, had already acquired a nefarious reputation. Alford was serving time in prison for the 2005 murder of Douglas Miller. Curiously, he refused to divulge any information regarding Chris Jenkins's case. Further fueling the intrigue surrounding Chris's case was an unsettling incident that occurred just months before his disappearance. Another man who had visited the same bar as Chris reported an unnerving experience. After consuming a drink, he rapidly fell ill, nearly succumbing to unconsciousness. He was placed in a car, his life narrowly spared by the intervention of a friend. The re-evaluation. The persistence of Chris Jenkins's family led to renewed attention on the case. When Chris Jenkins's case was re-evaluated, new evidence and theories emerged, particularly concerning the position of his body when it was found. A forensic investigator involved in the reopened case noted that Chris did not die from drowning, as drowning victims are usually found face down with their arms spread open. However, Chris's body was found face up, with his head slightly tilted to the side, clenched fists, and crossed arms in an X over his chest. Another significant factor was the state of the river on the night Chris was ejected from the bar. The river was frozen and remained so until mid-January. If Chris's body had been in the river since the night of his disappearance, it would have been quickly discovered, as the ice would have prevented the formation of a current. The new investigation suggested that Chris's body entered the water about 1 kilometer from where it was found, and that there were insects under his skin, insects that would not survive the harsh American winter. This indicated that Chris Jenkins's body was likely thrown into the river on the same day it was found, and not on Halloween night. The aftermath. Reflecting on the unresolved nature of the Chris Jenkins case, it continues to be a source of intrigue, sorrow, and unanswered questions. Despite the reclassification of his death as a homicide, many aspects of the case remain shrouded in mystery. The peculiar circumstances of his disappearance and the subsequent discovery of his body raised more questions than they answered. The Jenkins family's unwavering commitment to uncovering the truth about Chris's death exemplifies the profound impact such tragedies have on loved ones left behind. In a broader context, the case invites reflection on the nature of criminal investigations, the limitations of forensic science, and the role of public awareness in keeping such cases in the spotlight. It also raises critical questions about the treatment of missing persons cases, especially those involving young adults, and the assumptions that can sometimes lead to crucial oversights. The Chris Jenkins case, unresolved and haunting, continues to captivate and resonate, reminding us of the complexities of human life and the pursuit of justice in the face of uncertainty and loss. Join the conversation. Drop a comment to share your thoughts and insights. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating content. Thanks for tuning in to Really Unreal. Join us next time for a deep dive into another fascinating case. Stay curious, stay connected, stay with Really Unreal.